Okay, BugeyeBob back again. Didn't get a lot done this week. Woke up Monday morning, deaf in my left ear, and nothing, I don't know, doesn't seem to be terribly major. Just finally got to see the doctor Wednesday, and the doctor said that it's fluid behind the ear, and I went through hell getting the medication, but we won't get into all of that. It wasn't the insurance company's fault. It wasn't the pharmacy's fault. The doctor's office put in a new computer system. I've managed major ERP, enterprise resource planning software implementations in major world-class corporations. And the number one rule is you always have a manual backup that you can fall back on when things go to shit in your computer system. They didn't do that. It took them from Wednesday till Sunday morning to get my prescription to the doctor for the antibiotics. If you're in charge of computer systems, always have a fucking manual backup. Always. I could have gone over and picked up a handwritten prescription, taken it to the pharmacy, and been on my medication 4 days before they finally got their mess straightened around. But let's get on to other things. What I did get done was I got the repair panel ordered for this part right here. Runs from about here on down. That will give me a good bottom all the way across. It will also give me good material over in here from about here on down so that I can get this wing, rear fender, rear quarter panel, whatever you want to call it. I can get this lined up and set in place right, which then gets me set up to where I can get this damage repaired properly. Got that ordered. It's coming in. So I got that piece ordered. Had to order it from England. It's got to come in through customs. DHL is handling the customs. That and the channel that holds the bonnet up, that hooks on the front of the firewall. 213 pounds for those with just the shipping, which works out to be about $278 US, roughly. And then DHL for handling, processing it through customs and everything else. They're charging, the duties and all of that fancy stuff. They're charging another $49 and some odd cents. So, we're looking at roughly $225 or $325 just for those pieces coming over from England. But you cannot get that piece or the front channel from any place in the U.S. You can actually order enough damn body parts from the outfit in England. You can order, I'm pretty sure you can order every body part if you want to build a brand new Sprite. They can sell you the new body parts, except for the trunk floor. They're replacing the die on, they've got to repair the die on that. That's supposed to be done sometime in a year. 12 months they said it would take. But everything else except for that one piece, I'm pretty sure you could order from that company. And the company's name is AH Spares in the UK. A little tough to deal with if you go sending them email, asking them for quotes. God help you. If you go online and use their online system to request for quotes, it seems to go pretty quick. When I sent emails, I ended up talking with like 3 different people, and every one of them put me in their forgot box. I don't think that was necessarily intentional. I mean, when you have the top guy in sales send you emails, don't expect quick turnaround from him. I mean, you know, I've worked in sales. I ran customer service at a major lab casework company, and the guy at the very top of sales is always high demand, and you know, just go online, use their online system, and you can order directly online here in the U.S. from them, or you can actually go online, fill in all the stuff, and say, please send me a quote. And that really had a fast turnaround. So somebody down at the bottom of the chain was dealing with that. That's why it was a fast turnaround. I was working on this piece, which goes on here, like so. I could spend a fortune and get a repair panel for this. I opted to make my own repair parts. And I'm doing it in 3 pieces. One piece is going to run along the bottom, kind of like so, up and around when I get it all shaped. And then I am working on this piece, which goes around like so, and will eventually match up with this one, like so, and then there'll be a 3rd piece in the middle. Why 3 pieces? Because there's just an awful lot of compound curves in all of this, and I can do it easier in 3 pieces than I could by trying to make it all in one. Somebody who's a genius with an English wheel can probably make it all in one. I'm not a genius, I'm just learning, and I don't have a really great English wheel. To that end, I did, however, cut out another masonite pattern, wood pattern, hardboard pattern, whatever you want to call it, and used it to cut out flats in steel. Then started using my English wheel, shaped the piece up. Typically, the top wheel on the English wheel is just a flat one. This one happens to be 1 inch wide. They make English wheels that are up to 4, probably 5, 6 inches wide even, but this one is wide enough to get in trouble with. I was going along pretty good, trying to get this edge to bend over because it's down at the bottom of this part. You've got a lot of curve that needs to go into that little bit. And I was doing pretty good on it, but I kept having trouble right in this area right here. What I needed was to have that area go down this way without putting any curve in it this way. Now, the way the standard English wheel works is you have a top and bottom wheel, like so. This is a small bottom one, this is the top one. And when you run the metal through it, it squeezes the metal this way and this way both. So it puts a compound curve on it, which is great. The terrifying part is, even though this is a small English wheel and you would think that it's a tiny little English wheel, it's not going to be able to put a whole lot of pressure and movement into the metal. Well, let me tell you, there were times when I went through and just ran it through once, and that metal moved enough to where things were perfect. But there's a thing called overdevelopment. And what I ended up with was this area. Let's see if I can get this where you can see it good. This area right here is now what they call overdeveloped. And if you look at it from the side, you might be able to see that it goes along and it goes bloop, like that, with a big bump right in here. That overdevelopment was caused by two things. One, I worked in this area too much. And the other thing was I didn't have a top wheel that had some give to it. If you have a top wheel with give, so imagine this is the top wheel here. If you have one that has some give to it, it curves, it allows the metal to curve down this way without putting any curve in the other direction. If you have just this flat wheel, then it's stretching the metal in two directions. If you have a softer wheel on top, and usually you put a urethane band around the wheel, if you have that urethane band on, then that allows it to bend in this direction and follow the curvature of the bottom roller, but it doesn't cause the curvature in the other direction. So, what did I do about that? Well, I did this. So I went to Harbor Freight, picked up a 4-inch caster that originally looked something like this. It was $7-8, something like that. Ground the edge off of the rivet, pulled the rivet out. Then it came with a 1/4-inch hole. I drilled that out to 1/2 inch, which is slightly larger than the diameter of the pin for the top here. Then because it was too wide, it was about 1.5 inches wide, I had to grind like a 1/4 inch off of each side of it so it would fit up in here. It now fits up in there fine. It is a little bit loose on the shaft, but not terribly bad. The other thing I had to do was put this extender in to hold this piece up, and that extender actually came with the English wheel. And once I'd done all that, I now had a wheel that I could run on there. I think you can see there's a little bit of arch in this. You know, maybe you can see it kind of better that way. This still ended up with a little bit of a curvature in it, but nowhere as near what it would have if I'd done it the other way. And it really only took just a few trips through there. Now, obviously, this isn't going to work as good as if I had been able to put a urethane band on that top wheel. The problem is you can't, at least I couldn't find a 1-inch wide urethane band to go on that wheel. So that's why I did it this way and why I basically created my own top wheel. It's not perfect because it's got just ever so much of a arch to it like this, but you know, maybe that's why I still got a little bit of a bend in the top of it there, but it's definitely workable. Altogether, that little bit of bend is about what I need to do most of this part, because I get a little bit of an arch this way and I get just a tiny amount of arch this way. See if I can get that to where you can see it. I get just a little bit of arch this way, just a little bit of arch this way, which I actually need a little bit more, but that's all right. And that's going to work out good. Now, what am I going to do with this piece? Well, I think what I'm going to do with this, I bought one of Ray Chaline's shrinking discs, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try using that shrinking disc to shrink the metal in here. I think if I go over it with a shrinking disc, heat it up, and then cool it down, that will draw that metal back down to the point where it should be pretty good. I think that should draw that back down and get this piece back where it's usable. Then I can go through and run it through to put the little bit of curvature that I may still need on it in there. And we should be pretty good. So It's kind of where things sit. I've done some other work with the English wheel, just playing around with it. This was kind of my first attempt at trying to build a curve that went up around like that, and this is, too much. What else is there in here? This piece here, I had started to do this with, and found out that it wasn't wide enough in here, so that's why I kind of tossed those to the side and switched over to this other way of doing things. So that is what's gone on this week. Sorry there's not a whole lot of content. I think the information that I've given you about using the, making things work with the English wheel, I hope that'll be helpful. I don't know if I'm going to have a video next week or not, because the car show for the car club has come up. It's coming up this Saturday. Anybody that's watching from Minnesota, you might want to do a little bit of checking into the new law that they're trying to pass, where you can only drive a car with a classic car license plate on it, basically from sunup to sundown on Saturdays and Sundays. You might want to check into that and get a hold of your state representatives and senators or what the hell ever you got up there, and raise a little bit of stink, because basically what they're going to be saying is, if you have a classic car, then you can only drive it from sunup to sundown on Saturdays and Sundays. So, if you want to decide someday during the middle of the week that you want to go run to the grocery store in your classic car, and by the way, classic cars there are considered anything over 25 years old, where you get the special classic car license plate. You save a little bit on the license plate, but to me, you're not going to be driving that car a lot, because it's not something you want to put at risk on the highways, but you ought to be able to drive it when the hell you want to. And the idea of you can only drive it on Saturdays and Sundays between sunrise and sunset, that's getting a little stupid. So check into it if you're in Minnesota. I understand Michigan has a similar law, but they kind of say that between Memorial Day and Labor Day, you can drive it whenever you want. It's considered an exhibition during that whole time frame. So check into that. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Go over to Patreon. Join up on Patreon as a member if you can. It's like $4 a month. Hell, most people spill more than that in coffee in a month. Likes help a lot. Likes help get the video shared with others. So until next week, hopefully, or the week after, you folks have a blessed life. Take care of each other. Be nice to each other. One little quick story. I was in the local grocery store and kept bumping into this woman with our shopping cart. She'd come around in one direction, I'd come in another, and bumped into her twice and basically kind of said, we've got to stop meeting like this. My wife is getting suspicious. You have a blessed day. Said that to her twice. And as I was leaving the grocery store, she ran over and said, I want to give you a hug. You have made my day. And nothing greater than having a complete stranger think that you've said something to them that made them feel good. So be nice to people. Wish them that they have a blessed day. That doesn't mean you're religious. It means you want the best for them. And I want the best for you folks. So, BugeyeBob, over and out.